There is a new whistleblower unlocked, boys and girls. Yes, we have someone who is leaking classified information about the United States government, this time about the rampant corruption persisting all throughout Donald Trump's legal team. As you guys know, a hallmark of the second Trump administration is the blatant disregard for the separation of powers, checks and balances, which means that when the Supreme Court orders an act unconstitutional, the president is supposed to stop what he's doing and dis either discontinue his attempt at this legislation or find a legal workaround for it that is well within his means as the president of the United States. The Trump administration has no interest in doing that. They are a far right authoritarian government who strive for the unitary executive theory, which would effectively allow Donald Trump to be a monarch, a king, a dictator. Well, there is a whistleblower who worked closely with Emil Bove, who spilled the beans that Bove, who was one of Trump's personal attorneys and is now seeking appointment to be a district judge, basically was telling everyone to say fuck you to the United States courts, a big middle finger to the judicial system. This is courtesy of NPR. Fired Justice Department lawyer accuses agency of planning to defy court orders. A longtime government lawyer told Congress that Justice Department leaders plan to knowingly defy court orders and withhold information from judges to advance the Trump administration's aggressive deportation goals, according to a newly published whistleblower complaint. The lawyer, Erez Ravani, previously won awards and commendations over nearly 15 years at the Justice Department, including from Republican appointees in the first Trump administration, but he was put on leave and then fired in April after he told a federal judge an immigrant had been deported in error. I'm fairly certain that we covered this story. Even if we didn't, this is something that we've seen consistently throughout the second Trump term. If you speak up against any wrongdoing, you're just fucking fired. It doesn't matter. You're gone. They don't have time for that bullshit, bro. We don't have time for that. Oh, we made a mistake bullshit. Like, we got to deport a 4-year-old with brain cancer. Okay. I don't give it, like, they don't give a shit about any of that. Ravani ultimately decided to blow the whistle to lawmakers and watchdogs at the Justice Department and the Office of Special Counsel, detailing what he called defiance and noncompliance in 3 separate immigration cases this year. His accusations add to broader concern about the Trump administration's repeated clashes with the judiciary over immigration and other policies. Quote, discouraging lawyers from engaging in illegal conduct is an important part of the role of a lawyer, his attorneys wrote in the complaint. Mr. Ravani tried to do so and was thwarted, threatened, fired, and publicly disparaged for both doing his job and telling the truth to the court. News of the complaint, first reported by the New York Times, comes a day before senior Justice Department official Emil Bove is scheduled to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Bove is President Trump's nominee to serve as a federal judge on the U.S. District Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, a post that carries a lifetime appointment. Bove also is a former personal lawyer to Trump. Definitely no conflict of interest there, I would say. He worked alongside now Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche to defend Trump in 4 separate criminal cases. Blanche issued a statement calling Ravani's claims utterly false. In the new filing, Ravani disclosed a meeting inside the Justice Department on March 14th, shortly before Trump formally declared that he would invoke the Alien Enemies Act to speed up deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members and fly them to El Salvador. Mind you, there's no legal justification for him to do this. This has been thoroughly debunked by virtually every fucking court, by any fucking judge that has a shed of integrity. The only way that you can implement this act is if you are under invasion by a foreign is if you're under invasion. The Trump administration has tried to use the alleged rise in Venezuelan gangs all throughout the country as the justification for this, but it is entirely fabricated. It is entirely cooked up. And again, virtually all of the courts recognize that this is fucking silly. Additionally, there's another layer of illegality to this. You can't just round up people and send them to fucking El Salvador. Like, this is every immigrant that they were looking to send to El Salvador. This is the CCOP prison in El Salvador. There is just simply no legal justification for any of this. And instead of trying to fight a legal battle, the Trump administration is just like, you know what? What if we just did whatever the fuck we want? Do you remember the American Revolution when we overthrew a monarch? What if we go back, but I made myself King George? That is virtually what they're trying to get to here. At that meeting, the whistleblower complaint said Bove, quote, stressed to all in attendance that the planes needed to take off no matter what. Bove then said that the group may need to consider telling judges, quote, fuck you, and ignore possible court orders blocking immigrants from being removed from the United States, according to the document. I'm no lawyer, but I feel that this may very well be a crime. This sounds like a crime. Listen, I know I'm a civilian. I'm a pea-brain. But if a judge orders you to do something or not to do something, and then you go do it, I feel like you go back to prison. I'm just thinking of, like, if you get busted for DUI, right? Or if you get, like, caught on some bullshit drug charge. If the judge orders you on house arrest, and then you leave your house to go to 7-Eleven against the judge's orders, like, they will send you back to prison. So why should Emil Bove allowed to be a lifetime political appointee if he is actively advocating for something that is potentially illegal? This guy should not be fit to be a goddamn lifeguard, let alone a fucking district court judge. The account calls into question several representations others inside the Justice Department have made to the U.S. District Judge James Boasberg about when planes carrying migrants took off and passed through U.S. airspace before they landed in El Salvador. The Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said, quote, I was at the meeting described in the article, and at no time did anyone suggest a court order should not be followed. Oh, well, now, okay, never mind. Yeah. See, they said this thing that happened, but it's he said, she said, with someone who is obviously maybe not obviously, but I'm going to side with the whistleblower in this instance. But it's very, like, telling to me that all of the pro-Trump people are like, oh, obviously this never happened. Like, yeah, we would definitely like follow all of the norms and procedures, even though up until this point we have tried at every avenue to skirt around the norms and procedures. Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat, Illinois, thanked Ruvani for speaking up. Durbin, the senior Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, said the new allegations add to a troubling list of actions by Bove, who also pushed to fire prosecutors who worked on Capitol riot cases and to back away from the corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Dick Durbin and fellow Democrats, if you guys actually want to prove to me that you guys have some fucking balls and that you got a fucking spine, you will not appoint this guy. Every goddamn cabinet appointee has skated through with virtually no opposition, and it just rings really hollow from Democratic lawmakers when they stress about the horrors of the second Trump administration, and they can't even be bothered to not appoint the people that he wants to preside over these positions. Like, at the bare minimum, even without having heard this news, I would not have appointed Emil Bove. I would not have voted to confirm him. Now, I'm going to tell him straight to his goddamn face, like, it does not matter what the fuck you say to me. I am biased against you because you are a freak. You are unfit to serve in this position. Quote, these serious allegations from a career Justice Department lawyer who defended the first Trump administration's immigration policies not only speak to Mr. Bove's failure to fulfill his ethical obligations as a lawyer, but demonstrate that his activities are part of a broader pattern by President Trump and his allies to undermine the Justice Department's commitment to the rule of law, Durbin said. Durbin added that confirming Bove to a lifetime tenured judicial seat could have dire consequences. It most certainly will. If there's anything we've seen over these last couple decades of Republicans rigging the system, is that they understand the consequences of what they're doing, or they understand foresight. The fucking Democrats do not. Ruvani's complaint could reverberate far beyond Capitol Hill, since courts across the nation continue to consider the legality of Trump's speedy deportations. Ruvani's attorneys Dana Gold and Andrea Meza at the Government Accountability Project and Kevin Owen at Gilbert Employment Law said the Justice Department actions, quote, have grave impacts not only for the safety of individuals removed from the country in violation of court orders, but also for the constitutional rights and protections of all persons, citizen and non-citizen alike. who are potential victims of flagrant, deliberate disregard of due process and the rule of law by the agency charged with upholding it. This is all going according to plan for the Republicans. I'm just, putting that out there. The whole Project 2025 thing was very real. They seek to undermine the judiciary. They seek to strip any sort of restrictionary power that Congress has so that Donald Trump can be their goddamn king. The judiciary, unfortunately, has no fucking way to fight back against any of this. Like, yeah, they can issue an injunction, they can issue a court order, they can kill a motion, but ultimately, like, that is the extent of their power. So it's really easy for Republicans to take advantage of that. As I mentioned before, an actual way to fight against this is to prevent the appointing of this fucking freak, Emil Bove. Even if you want to take like the institutional, if you want to take the institutional route, like, you have to conduct an investigation into this, because there is no way that this type of allegation can surface and it not be further investigated by Democratic lawmakers. It would be negligent and grossly incompetent for that to happen. We have one final piece of news here. This comes from a report from the Government Accountability Office highlighting some data from 2015 to 2020 showing that ICE has deported 70 United States citizens, at least 70 United States citizens. Why is this worth talking about? Well, I don't know if you know this, but if you're a United States citizen, you have special protections from the government. And one of those protections is that you cannot be fucking deported. Like, it's so funny to have this thought exercise, because if you're a United States citizen, where the fuck are they going to deport you to? It's just a really fucking stupid thing to even have to consider. But of course, our immigration agencies are so goddamn incompetent, and they're so blinded by their virulent racism that they just see a person who potentially might be not a U.S. citizen. They're like, get that person out of here. Send them to Nicaragua right now.